So it is late 30 at night. To be more specific, it is 9 p.m. And I promised you guys some more videos. So I'm going to do one. And as always, none of my videos are scripted, just like none of my videos are straight right now. But I want to take a topic that's been kind of circulating around on the peripheral of the TTC journey world, the IVF journey world. And the question was directed at Black women or women of color. And it was a very simple question, but it was really specific in its nature because it was geared and directed at us. And that question was, what are some things you've learned during this IVF TTC journey? And I saw a range of answers from, they learned about their shots and the dosages and how expensive and whatnot the process was. And then they were talking about, they learned about how to screen doctors and how to advocate for yourself and speak up for yourself, and how to deal with loss and failure, if you will. And I hate that term failure, but how to deal with those things where our journeys are concerned. And all of those answers are spot on and 100% applicable to the question. When I read it, I pondered it, and I've been pondering it for a few days. And all of those answers were stated and overstated and had their place and were relevant to the question, but my answer was a little different. What have I learned through this journey? And I have to take it from a perspective of if I were talking to my younger self. Because I talk to myself and myself answers. I need expert advice, so yes, I talk to myself. And I answer myself. So I had to take it from a perspective of me speaking to my younger self. And by younger self, I don't mean my 19, 17, 22, 27-year-old self. I'm talking to my 29 to 30-something age self. And I would say I learned that it's not okay to waste your most valuable reproductive times of life by acquiescing to other people's wants and wills for you. It's not okay to waste your reproductive viability on someone that would not give you the same in return. It's not okay to put yourself second for any reason, especially where your reproductive life is concerned. It's not okay to put yourself second for any reason. That's what I learned. I learned that the prices that you pay, the prices I paid were way too high. I tried to do everything the right way. I tried to, on the heels of divorce, build myself up and make myself accountable and worthy and a force to be reckoned with as an individual and as a woman, and be prepared for the next great relationship or the only great relationship that was coming around the corner in my life, not knowing when that corner would be rounded, when that would happen. But I tried to get to know me, work out all my isms, and be accountable for my BS, and own it, own my BS, just because we all got BS. And I just want to own my shit and be worthy of my children's respect and my children's value, and to look in the mirror at myself and like the person that looked back at me. And so on this journey, I had to retrace where that moment happened that I look up and I'm 20 something years older and meet the most amazing man, the love of my life, and be so far down the line in my reproductive life that the option for giving him children the good old-fashioned way wasn't an option, and giving myself children wasn't an option. And I kept trying to remember when my ovaries got old. I kept trying to remember that moment. And I thought and I thought and I remember and I remembered and I remember crying about it. And I was in my mid 30s, about 35, 37-ish. And I was living in Texas, and I had wanted to have more children, but I wasn't in a relationship, and I couldn't find a relationship with a man that wanted to take on the package I had, which was an independent, educated, smart, capable single mother of 3 children, 3 sons, and step into those shoes and want to continue to build a family and a life with me. They wanted to take the exit clause. And I wasn't going to let a man lay me down if he was not going to build me up. Not on his terms anyway. And I remember saying I wanted to have more children, and that opportunity just wasn't happening because I wasn't getting it. And so knowing how babies are made when you're young, allegedly, it just wasn't happening. And I saw that it wasn't going to happen. And I remember being depressed for weeks on the heels of crying my eyes out for 2 days because I was working, I was making pretty damn good money and had 3 amazing children. I was a successful parent. We're talking PTA and field trips and school meetings and, you know, working my jobs and managing a nightclub and doing all the things and AAU sports and all the stuff that comes with parenting, and I relished it and I thrived in it and I excelled in it. And it wasn't always easy, but you know, I did it and I welcomed it. It was my shit. And wanting to have another child, and knowing that that wasn't going to happen, and that the time was ticking away, and my cycles had started changing. And that was like that particular month, I had my first hot flash. Like, where did that come from? I'm laying on the sofa watching TV, chilling, drifted off to sleep, wake up at 3 in the morning, soaked with sweat. And yes, I'm in Texas, but I always kept my air conditioner on Arctic. And I'm sweating profusely to the point where I stick my head in the fucking freezer. And I knew it was a hot flash because backwards 20 years before, or yeah, I had endometriosis and they put me on a medication that sent me into a chemically induced menopause. And so I knew all the symptoms, the flushing and the flashing and the sweating and the mood swings. And I had my first one right there. And that's when it started triggering. You've waited too long and you've wasted your best years trying to do the right thing by other people, do the right thing by everyone except yourself. And from that day until the day I met my husband, the man that brought love back into my life and hope into my heart, from that day till then, I agonized and I ran to doctors and I tried unsuccessfully to become a parent again. And everything in life is about timing, circumstance, and opportunity. And they all have to line up in perfect order for shit to happen. I honestly believe that. And I kept looking back at periods of my life on those particular times in my life where I knew the moment when I realized I had wasted my most valuable reproductive years doing right by other people and not doing right by myself. So I guess what I'm saying is the things I've learned that I would pass on to my younger self or another woman that's younger than I is don't waste you on someone else. What I learned in this journey is that we are valuable as women. I was valuable as a woman. I'm still valuable as a woman only through self-validation, only through our own efforts, only through our own identifications. We all have trials and journeys and tribulations and hills to climb, especially with our reproductive lives. But what I learned is that no one should be the governor of your reproductive life but you. You make those decisions and deal with the consequences going forward. You don't want to look back in 25, 30 years and regret not having taken action or not having put your own wants and needs first. So yeah, that's what I learned on this journey. And it's kind of abstract from the direct answers that were given, but I learned that it's not too late, even if you do, but it's certainly much more difficult. I learned that there is hope, though, at the end of that realization. And I'm living in that now. So I've learned how to live in hope. Yeah, so that's my long answer, and I just want to share that with you guys. And if you guys have thoughts on what you learned through this journey and you feel like sharing it, leave me a message, leave me a memo down at the bottom. Share this with someone. Share this with another woman that may be struggling with infertility or fertility issues that may not be as comfortable going into public spaces with it. Because I've come across lots of women. I've learned this also. I've come across lots of women on every age level I can imagine with reproductive issues. And I don't know why it was so surprising to me, because I was 19 when I got diagnosed with endometriosis. And I struggled with fertility from 19 years old. So I don't know why, but it did always strike me as surprising when I watch videos of 22 and 23 and 30-year-old women struggling, genuinely struggling to have children. And it's heartbreaking. And I think it was surprising for me because I always thought I was alone, you know, given my age, and the decades I grew up in. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. The world was a much, much larger place, and communicating these challenges to other women or like women was a lot more difficult, and it took more time. And so I'm just grateful to be in this space and time where communication and access and resources and kinship are a lot more readily accessible. But I learned that every woman everywhere has her own reproductive journey, and that having challenges in those journeys is not age specific. It's not culturally specific. It's not socioeconomically specific. And it's what binds us one to another. So that's what I learned, some of the things that I learned during this TTC and IVF journey. And yeah, that's my spiel for tonight. I promised you guys another video. I didn't say what it was going to be about. So here it is. All right. Oh, and here's my doggy wanting to be in my video with me. Say hello, Simbo. Say hello. Okay, you want to go with Aki? No, you don't want to go with Aki? No? Okay, well, get down. All right, well, from my puppy heart to yours, this is what we learned in our TTC IVF journey. Love you. Love me.